This next question is another trig question, but it's relating to graphs of trig functions. Okay, so we have two functions, f of x and g of x. So I think I have a bit of a typo here. This should be 2.5 plus q. So it's slightly different. There's just a transformation taking place from f of x to g of x, obviously. The graph of g is obtained by two transformations of the graph of f. Describe the transformations. So this one here first is a translation. 3 pi over 2 units to the right, or right. You could say translation or shift. You cannot say move. Okay, you must use translation or shift. The other thing is there's a q added on the end, so that's a, oh, by the way, this should have been horizontal translation, sorry. Horizontal. Actually, the right is there, so it doesn't really matter too much. And this is a vertical translation. Q units up. Okay. Next, the y-intercept of the graph of g is at 0r. Given that g of x is greater than or equal to 7, find the smallest value of r. So this is a very common type of question. So this piece of information here means basically the entire function is above 7. So basically the minimum of the function is going to be 7. Okay? The whole graph will look something like, well, here's 7, and it'll be just touching 7 all the time, right? So this gives us an idea of what the vertical shift of the function is, right? So let's take a look at the function. So again, we got g of x equals 4 sine 3 x minus 3 pi over 2 plus 2.5 plus q, right? So the minimum of this part, so sine always goes between -1 and 1. The minimum is -1 for this one, right? So the minimum value of this entire function, g of x, has to be 4 times -1 plus 2.5 plus q. That's the minimum of g of x. This has to be greater than or equal to 7. All right? And you can simply solve this for q, and you got -4 plus 2.5 plus q greater than or equal to 7. And that's going to be a -1.5 plus q is greater than or equal to 7. So q is greater than or equal to 8.5. Okay, or basically q has to be equal to, 8.5. So now to get the y-intercept, basically r is the y-intercept, we just sub in x equals 0 into the equation. So we have 4 sine 0 minus 3 pi over 2 plus 2.5 plus 8.5. And sine negative 3 pi over 2 is going counterclockwise. 3 pi over, this is the angle, -3 pi over 2. The sine is just 1 here. So the answer is just 4 times 1 plus 2.5 plus 8.5, which simply equals 15, which is the answer. I guess I should say r equals 15.